Welcome to A Woman's Brew, where women talk about beer. Today we're talking top-rated beers and may potentially stop you from making some poor decisions. You see what Tori did there? Poor, yeah. I'm Joanne and this is Tori.
Hello, hello.
We're two beer-loving women on a mission to get more people drinking and talking about great beer. Come join us.
I really faffed about whether or not I should put that in there because I was like, it's not going to translate to audio. It's not going to translate to audio. And then I was like, no, it can't go in there because it's just not audio. I have to save that. I've got to save it to put in writing at some point. And then my brain was like, you're going to lose it. You're not going to remember it.
Yeah, you'll forget
you just
it.
want to be able to say it. And this is the perfect time to say it. And I was like, all right, I'm going to keep it in. So I'm glad you read it like that because poor. In case that didn't translate, P-O-U-R.
Yeah. Poor decisions. Like you're pouring the beer, people.
There you go.
There you go.
Breaking that joke down for you.
Anyway, yeah, today we're talking about top-rated beers.
Yeah, we are indeed.
I quite like this. I like that you came up with this one.
Well, yeah, so we're talking, it's sort of a bit, it's going to be interesting. So I've got like a few debate points in it. We'll see what we get through because I've got some like discussion points. It'll be really interesting to see where we get to because there's some debate points because I think like we have similar opinions on certain things, but then we just deviate in how we think about it in certain ways. So I thought this would be a really interesting discussion point here to talk about, you know, spoiler alert, to talk about sort of top rated beers. And sort of where that sits. Funnily enough, one of the things we're going to talk about just came up on a photo on my Alexa, but I'll tell you about it when we talk about it in a minute. But had to call that out because I looked over at my Alexa and went, oh, there we go. But yeah, I think it's the spoiler alert is, you know, where top you've got these beers that are renowned globally as being like the top rated beers that everyone must try. In my opinion, when you sort of go about everyone must try that, that's when it starts to become a bucket list. Whereas obviously we don't necessarily don't agree on that. But it'll be interesting to talk about it. So it's going to be mostly about sort of top rated beers, how you get sort of this list of top rated beers that are just globally renowned, things that you should be trying, how you go about sort of finding those beers that you should be trying. And we'll talk a little bit more about your blog post about what you're doing with your blog. And what I was going to try to do. The thing is, I think we both plan to do something similar on those lines. You're definitely more organized. You've got something done. I have nothing done. Mine's just a bunch of ideas in my head that I didn't do anything with. So maybe this episode will be inspiring to me. Hopefully it will be inspiring to other people that maybe want to even just practice their writing and tick off, maybe create their own bucket list, maybe, you know, get out there and see how they're enjoying beers. So that's going to be what we kind of talk about today. And I feel like we can't talk about top-rated, renowned beers in the world without talking about one brewery in particular. Spoiler alert, not a UK.
Not a UK one.
Not a UK.
Soz Vapes.
And people are sat here thinking, is it Pliny? Is it Russian River?
It is not.
It is not Russian River. It is none other than Treehouse, and our first beer of the day is Julius. So,
I just double checked on my Untapped. I've never had a beer from Treehouse.
You've never had a Treehouse beer ever. This
is
going to be interesting and fun, and this is going to be really great to like prove that whole theme about whether or not you know, this is a top rated beer. It's a renowned beer. Treehouse is well known, you know, for those big hazy juicy boys, especially Julius. This is like their flagship beer. Talking about flagship beers the other day and core range beers, you know, Julius is the one where people like Treehouse Julius, like that's the one. If you want a New England, that is the one of the New Englands that you can have. So it'll be really interesting to see your thoughts on it. I mean, I've had Julius before, I've had Treehouse before, but then it's also quite cheating because I've you know, from New England. It would be weird if I'd never had a Treehouse. But it's so I feel like what I can say about it. So we're going to have a set of 3 beers. Spoiler alert from Treehouse. The first being Julius, because you'll see as we progress through them why we've started with Julius. but basically where you normally over here get things imported for quite a hefty charge sometimes, depending on where you're getting them imported, and you can't always guarantee the quality of the importing. I brought these myself to the UK for us from my trip to one of their locations, and I know for a fact that it might not have been cold chain like shipping or anything like that. I don't have that kind of money, but I can tell you they were very well looked after, stored in a fridge up until the moment that they got wrapped in several layers of wrapping and curiously placed in my bag. And I remember the one thing that you said to me when I went to the US was like, can you get me a Julius, please?
Yeah, because I knew I had this blog series in mind, and I knew this was. I don't even think I'd put this on it originally because I didn't think I was going to get it. And then you were like, "Yeah, we're going to go around. Might go to Treehouse." I was like, "Right, if you go to Treehouse, can you get me a Julius?"
I think what I actually said was, I've asked for recommendations of places to go that aren't Treehouse. And inevitably, some people are like, you've got to go to Treehouse. And I was like, and there is a new Treehouse that's not that one of their newer locations. That's not actually that far from where I live. It's not in the middle of fucking nowhere, Massachusetts. Like to go to, I don't have to make a serious drive to go to it. It's a 15-minute drive maybe. And then you were like, can you get me a Julius? And I was like, I guess I kind of have to go now, don't I? I said to you, yes. I was like, yes, I absolutely will get it for you. Sure. Thinking like, I should be able to get it, no problem. Like, just should be no problem. And then
I just got a load of messages with her complaining about how she had to buy 4-packs. Everything's in a 4-pack. I just want 2.
To be fair, it's not that wasn't even my problem with like Treehouse in particular. I mean, I've got gripes with like Treehouse in particular. It was just that I had gone all the way to Treehouse to get you AG, and I was thinking I could do like a mixed pack and I could get a bunch of stuff. Like, you really take for granted over here in the UK that you can do mixed packs. Places will just get single cans. Because like I'll say the location's really cool. It is a fun fact. My semi-formal prom was hosted at the same place that is now Treehouse. It was a country club. It was a golf country club that they took over. And yeah, I've gone to many events there, weddings, proms, dances of such. The few proms that I went to. Other people's proms and formal events, parties, and now it is Treehouse. It's one of Treehouse's tap rooms, which is to come full circle, really weird. Because I was sat here like I remember being at a wedding and being sat over there, and then and being outside in that area, and now it's still a golf club. Like, they do still have a golf course there, which is really really interesting, and like props to Treehouse are playing 5D chess. They literally have branded their shit out so much. They've got so much golf stuff. They've got golf polos, golf bags, golf club covers. They have the whole Treehouse logo on a wall that's made out of different colored golf tees. Like, they really leaned in hard to the golf theme. But I mean, it works because now it's kind of like dual purpose. Like, if you maybe thought that you wanted to be a golf bro, but you weren't sure you wanted to be a golf bro, but you like beer, maybe now you want to be a golf bro. I don't know. It's a really lovely location. It's in I think Tewkesbury is the location. But yeah, really cool location. So it was awesome because you walk in and it is this like big, it just feels like a really big hall. There's numerous bars, so many tap lines across the bars, like easily 50 tap lines maybe. I can't even remember, something ridiculous like that. Maybe in my head it was like that, and it was like maybe 50. 25, but I'm fairly certain it was like up in the 40s. I'm not Googling it to fact check, but it was something like that. And my gripe is, as people know from like when you could go to the original place, like you had to wait in line and you get a set amount of drinks. You get 3 drinks per person. And that to me really effing annoying. And I get it, and I guess it helps get the hype, it helps get more people, it helps get the turnaround. If there's like, because there's obviously only so much, it's quite a big location, but still there's even so much space. They've got pizza there, which was like decent pizza, lovely atmosphere in the sense that they've got these big benches and some singular tables, and people were there playing like board games, and it was really family friendly, and it was a really cool space. But wound me up to no end that I only got 3 drinks, to the point that I was thinking of capitalizing on my mum being the designated driver who doesn't really drink. And I thought, oh, I could use her allotment of drinks. But then it was just more of a faff, because basically you have to, annoyingly, Rick didn't bring his ID, or else I 100% would have used his drinks, because he didn't really feel like, he was like, oh, I don't really feel like drinking.
Yeah.
We were literally just going so I could get those, I could pick the beers up that I told you that I would get. If I told somebody I was going to get them a beer, I'm going to get them a beer. So that's why we were going. And I was like, well, it would be rude not to stay for a few drinks.
Exactly.
So not thinking that they were going to do what they did at their main brewery at this place, because I thought, surely that's not going to happen at their tap room, like whatever.
Yeah, it's not like the main brewery or whatever, like, which is
no. So I thought,
location.
you know what, that's not going to happen there. I didn't really look into it. And then you get there and they're like, oh yeah, let's explain how it works. You got to, like, basically you can use an app or you can show us. You basically have to show an ID, and then you have to buy the drink tickets, and you're only allowed 3 each. And you have to, like, I think why I didn't use mine was I didn't want to make her get up. She had, like, her ankle was not great, so I was not going to make her get up and show her ID and be like, oh, look. Like, I probably could have collected a drink for her, but she still would have had to get up and move around to be like, here's the ID and everything. Rick didn't have his full stop, so I couldn't use his, which was really annoying. But yeah, the location was cool, but I really was not digging that.
Such an interesting concept, isn't it? I mean, it obviously works for them because they're now doing it.
It works. They weren't
in
quiet.
The second location.
They weren't quiet. They're in a lot of locations.
That would annoy me, though.
They're in a lot of locations. When I looked up earlier trying to find something specific on their website, they have, like, the normal brewery, and then they've got another, like, I want to say 4, maybe even 5, like, satellite tap rooms, this being one of them. And they've got one down the Cape, I believe it was. They've got one in Connecticut. They've got, like, a few different locations. And I was like, wow. And if that's what they're doing at all of them, I mean, it works, because they're clearly opening up locations. People clearly like it. They want the beers. It was just annoying because they had such an extensive tap list that I was like, and as a person that's visiting,
like, how are they turning round that many beers if you can only have 3 beers?
Because I think they are so rammed.
Coming in.
Yeah, they are very busy. It was definitely very busy, and obviously I went on what was a weekday because I thought,
Be
better
quieter.
this day than like that'll be easier for me to get in. I went, like, in the most off peak of times, like lunchtime weekday, and it was fine. Like, we got a table, but just about, we got the only free table that was there in this massive place. But it was just, like, in my brain, like, as a person that is visiting from out of the country, I mean, yes, they don't know that I, in theory that, I could go back the next time and have more, but, like, I can't just be going there, like, every day of my trip. So, like, there was numerous things, and I had to basically pare down to the 3 things I wanted to try the most, which that felt really, really annoying, because I was like, there's so much here that I want to try, and so much that looks amazing, and now I've got to distill it down. So I chose not to go with, like, Julius, for example, because while I would have loved to have Julius on tap, the other part of me was like, I'm going to get cans, because my other bone of contention was, not just with them, but you could only buy 4 packs of, like, all these drinks. On occasion, you could get 2 packs. You could get 2 packs on the odd occasion, or, like, single bottles that were, like, expensive bottles. Not even expensive, but just, like, when they were bigger sharing bottles and stuff. But even in, like, liquor stores, you could only get, like, 4 packs. Like, you could barely get single cans. And so it's like, they don't even sell, there's all these different variations of Julius, and you couldn't even get a mix pack where it was, like, just variations of Julius's. So you could be like, I'll get this mix pack, but they would be like, here's a 4 pack, or here's, like, a 24 can case.
Oh no.
Like, there was not really, they might have had 12 packs, but I feel like there wasn't a lot in the middle, and they weren't, like, mix pack. Like, you could get, like, 6 packs and stuff, and, like, 12 packs, I believe, but they were, like, all of one type of beer. And I was just like, the mix packs, you could only get cases, and I was like, I don't want a case for, like, 100 and whatever pounds, $100 whatever dollars for like a handful of the beers. And like the way it fell was it would be like some of them were over here, like some of the beers I want were in this mix pack over here, and then some of the other ones I wanted were in this mix pack over here, and never the two shall meet. And that was really irritating. But the cool thing they had is when you could order beer on like a tablet, and then there'll be like there's like a little elevator situation that like they're like in the warehouse underneath, and they'll elevator it up to you, which is cool. And we did like a click and collect, so there was like there was a building to the side that was almost probably like where parking attendants would be at whatever point in time when the country club was like a country club or something like that. But they were using that as like click and collect. So literally I ordered the beers, and then we like drove up before we left to this area that was designated for the click and collect, got the beers in the car and left. It was just so much easier. I didn't have to wait in the queue there was no queue there for the collection by car. And there was a massive queue to use the machine, to use the lift to get things up. But that was that wound me up. But I did get some coffee, and the coffee was really nice. I got coffee beans, and the coffee beans were really nice. Yeah. So that was my experience of actually talking about top rated beers and the hype around them, literally to the point that people are willing to go religiously to a place where you can only have 3 drinks at a time. And there wasn't a limit on the size, I don't believe. Like I could get whatever I wanted in terms of this, not whatever I wanted, but whatever they were offering in terms of like sizing. And it might have even been that you didn't even really, I can't remember if you had like 2 options of sizing or whatever, but like I don't remember that having impacted it. Like literally it was just you get 3 beers, and whatever you get of those 3 beers is what you get. But I did upgrade one of my drinks so that I could get a glass. And the glass that I got is this big, huge, like drinking mass. Like, look at that. Like, it's got the Treehouse logo on it. I don't really drink Treehouse. Not that I don't drink Treehouse lagers, but that doesn't tend to be what you get from Treehouse. So it's going to be a little sad, but I probably will put my Julius in this after I try it, because I have to christen it. I've got to christen it before I can use it for anything else. But I feel like this one's a video one. You got to look at it on the video. It was the option between this was just like a normal ass glass. Like it wasn't, we didn't have any like the snifter type ones that you like normally see or anything. It was just normally just a plain...
just like a shaker pint.
No, it wasn't a shaker pint. Not
even a teku.
No teku.
Wow.
I would probably would have gone with teku. Yeah. Actually, no, I probably still would have gone with this, because how often do you get that as a brewery's like option? But and it wasn't like that expensive in terms of like upgrading it. I want to say it was like $7 or $8 to add on the glass, and I was like, I probably would have bought one anyways. So sure. And then they even gave it to me so I didn't have to have it. They basically wrapped that up, so I didn't. They said like, oh, you basically would have this as your last drink. Redeem it on your last drink, and then we'll clean it up for you. But I think in the end, they didn't even make me. They just wrapped it right up and put it in a different glass, and I was like, cheers, it's great. Nice. But let's crack into Julius. I want to see your I want to see your reaction.
I'm interested to try it. So the can says it's an American IPA. It doesn't say that it's a New England IPA.
I mean, I feel like it's very clearly in New England, though. Like, I feel like it is.
I'm just saying.
It does say American IPA, but it's tropical fruits, passion fruits, and mango. Is its tasting notes. Like, cool.
It's the colour of like an orange Solero.
Yes, tell me like, you're like, I mean, it's an American IPA, but like, tell me that's not a New England.
She hazy.
It is literally a hazy IPA. So it says on the can and stuff as well, it's a hazy IPA.
Ooh. Smells lovely.
Yeah, so on it says, on the palate, Julius delivers on the promise, providing a robust and nuanced tropical fruit flavour dominated by mango and sweet orange, complemented by a subtle citrus undertone. So let's see.
Loads of mango.
I've had this like I've had Julius like quite a few times. So I'm going to kind of withhold my thoughts, feelings, opinions on it. I just want to know sort of, I want to get your full reaction to it.
Get lots of mango. I get a bit of pineapple. I'm not really getting a lot of orange. Citrus, though, I suppose, yeah.
I think for me, it's just kind of the citrus is more in the background, like supporting, than it is a very obvious front runner.
Like, it just smells juicy. Like, sometimes when you have these, you get a bit of vegetable in them. Not getting any of that.
Before you taste it,
yeah,
I think it's important to know, like, so when we're talking about this, of like, we're talking about this from the angle of everyone's telling you it's a beer you have to try, like, you have to try it sometime in your life. We'll dig into that more, but think about it in the sense of, like, would you tell other people to drink? It'd be really interesting to be like, are you excited to having tried it?
Right, I'm going in.
I've already gone in.
That's much more bitter than I thought it was going to be.
I feel like your face is excellent right now.
I'm just like, it's making me sad.
Why is it making you sad?
Because it smelled so lovely, and then when I don't, all I'm getting is like lots of bitterness.
Is that all you're getting? See, so mine I definitely get the bitterness, but towards the back end.
I get some citrus.
See, I get a lot of like mango. I get those fruits in it. Like mango is one of the first flavours I got out of it.
No, not like I do on the aroma. Let me do a drink and breathe through, see if that helps.
There's definitely a lot more bitterness, in my opinion, than you expect.
I just don't get as much mango in the taste as I do in the aroma. I'm getting a bit of biscuity malt now when I breathed out. That's making me sad. And also, like, from the smell and the juiciness, like, I was expecting like a really nice pillowy mouthfeel. And it's fuller, but it's not as pillowy soft as I wanted. There's a bit more carbonation in there than I was expecting. I mean, I'm sure it's a lovely beer for people that like this kind of beer. It's not for me.
It's I definitely, taste-wise, I do get the bitterness, but I think I get more of I'm definitely getting more of the mango through than maybe like you are in terms of what you're picking up. But I cannot pretend that it's not more bitter than I would expect. Like, I think you look at it and you go like, oh, that is going to, and you smell it and you read the can, you go, that's going to be pure juice.
Yeah.
And I've had some Treehouse beers that are literally pure juice, like you are drinking breakfast juice. One of them I think was called breakfast juice, and I think that's the one that I used to make a beer mosa with in the end.
Oh yeah.
But this one definitely had, like, the bitterness, I think, adds a little bit of an edge to it. So it'll be interesting at the end of this to see which of the three beers we have, like, is actually going to come out on top for you, or if you're just going to say none of them are really worth the hype.
Not for me. We'll find out.
It'll be interesting.
I mean, I was looking at the ABV as well, because it's 6.8. It feels a little bit boozier than that to me.
Do you think?
Yeah. But I think that's just me.
I think I just live in that world.
Yeah, you do.
So to me, I'm like, oh, it doesn't taste boozy at all. It's fine.
No, but you drink these bigger, higher ABV.
Yeah, the hoppier beers, the hoppy beers. Yeah, that's what I mean. Not in the sense that you don't drink boozier beers, in the sense of like, this is my sweet spot. It's like the 6 to 8%, like hoppy, hazy, juicy beers. So to me, I'm like, oh, it tastes about right. Like, I think, oh, it tastes about right. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't say I'd go, oh, it tastes like a 4% or a 5%. Like, this is one that I feel the ABV matches pretty well for me and what I'm expecting. But that's, I live in this world, so you're a visitor in that today. And
I really am.
It'll be interesting to see as well if your taste for it sort of develops as you kind of get used to the bitterness, because I know, like, with some of the West Coast that we had, like when we had the Oregon Trails, and that was obviously far more bitter. I immediately was like, oh, on the triple organ, I was like, oh no, cannot do it. And then the more I had a bit of it, I was like, yeah, actually, it's quite nice now. It's quite nice now. So it'll be interesting to see, like, as we talk and you sip on this a bit more, like how it settles in. I've poured it out into my big glass, into my big girl glass. It feels so stupid, but I feel like I cannot use this.
Is it heavy? Like, it looks like you got to use both hands.
I don't have to. I tend to sometimes, because I've got small hands, sometimes I have to drink like Donald Trump holds with a glass of water. This one I don't have to. I'm choosing to. It's not that heavy. It's just sometimes I feel like I have to. Like, it's like a mug. Like, it's like a mug of tea, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't drink tea, so I don't really know how people hold mugs of tea. I feel like an AI. Hold it like this.
You feel like an AI.
Like, I feel like an AI. Like, if I was thinking about how AI generate like images of people holding cozy mugs of tea, that's like what I've done, because I don't drink tea, so I don't know. But I don't even drink hot coffee, so I'm like, no, you don't. Look at me. But yeah, I'm christening this. I was just saying before we started recording, after I decanted the rest of it in there, because we took a quick minute so I could pour it all in. I'm kind of gutted that this is the one that I'm christening the glass with, but I don't want to tell you which other one I would have preferred, because I feel like that'll give it away. But also, I kind of felt like I couldn't put the other one in a glass like this because it just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
So, but it had to be done. It had to be done so I could use this in future.
Someone's going to give us a comment about inappropriate glassware. And do you know what?
I already know.
Glass is a glass. Glass is a glass is a glass.
Oh, I mean, but also that is, we also don't.
We don't approve of
also,
that.
I don't co-sign that. A glass is not a glass is not a glass. Saying that, I did have to drink. I did send you like a photo of, I had a London Pride, because like where I was, the option was like Foster's or London Pride, and there was Guinness. I had a Guinness.
London Pride,
No, that wasn't the problem. The problem was I literally didn't get a glass, so I had to drink it out of the bottle, and I was like, like I was like, I feel like I'm back in my early 20s, just drinking out of bottles like it's nobody's business. And I was like, I hate this so much. But then someone really pointed out, you could have just asked for a glass, and I was like, but it was Top Golf. Like, I wasn't going to go off and be like, oh, excuse me, can I have your finest glassware, please? So
how many times I've asked for a wine glass places? I do it. I do it. If I ask it.
Part of me thinks,
put beer into wine glasses because I'm like, have you got what? Can I have a wine glass? And people are like, yeah. I'm like, perfect.
I don't know how it would have gone down if I had been like, oh, excuse me, can I just have a wine glass, please, at Top Golf?
Or like, your London Pride.
After I had just ordered a bottle of like a 330ml bottle of London Pride, and then they're like, here you go. Like that. Just didn't feel like the one, if I'm honest.
It's not even a pint bottle.
No.
Oh.
It was not. It was like a sad baby one. And I was like, it's fine. And then I realised they had Guinness after, so I just switched to Guinness. Although I did also
get a Guinness glass.
Yeah, but it was like a baby one. Like, I had a baby Guinness glass. Because I got like the half pint, but they have the half pint size Guinness glasses, and it was great. But yeah, we're not here to talk about glassware.
We're not.
We're here to talk about top rated bits.
Let us know if you want us to do another glassware episode, dear listeners.
Because as we said, a glass is a glass is a glass.
No.
So.
That's incorrect.
I don't co-sign that. I don't know. I don't agree with
her. If you haven't got any other, like, if you have not got a range of beer glasses,
you're right. I don't have a range of beer glasses accessible to me. But yes, I know it's inappropriate glassware for this particular bit, but in order for me to be able to use this, it's like you gotta. It's like
it's branded.
It's like when you're at. Yeah, that's exactly why. It's like when you have like a christening of a ship and you've got to like break a bottle on it. It's kind of like that. I've got to break a can.
Or you've got to christen a warehouse and you smash a bottle of Burning Sky against it.
Oh God.
Just saying.
That upsets
I've totally
me.
done that.
That upsets me that you smashed it.
I know.
Ugh.
My manager still hasn't forgiven me that I allowed that to happen.
I don't forgive, but I can. No, I won't forget. I can forgive, but I definitely won't forget that. So when we talk about top beers, like what makes a quote unquote top beer a top beer in your opinion?
In my opinion,
yeah. Because obviously there's no like definitive answer of this is what a top beer is.
No, because I think there's definitely different ways of looking at it, isn't there?
Well, yeah, because I guess the debate is it in your opinion, is it style guidelines? Is it that it tastes good? Like what are the factors that you look in that in your opinion makes it a top beer?
think it depends on what you're looking for. So, I mean, some of these are obviously going to be top beers, air quotes, because they've got the hype behind them. And, you know, so many people have said, this is the best beer ever, blah, blah, blah. You should definitely try it. And I like to take that with a pinch of salt because, as we've just seen, we all have different opinions. We've all got different taste buds. There's different things that we all enjoy. So I feel like there are points where, you know, especially when you're just starting out on your craft beer journey, or, you know, you're just finding some of these beers. Someone tells you that you have to like this beer because it's the best beer, and then you don't like it, and it can be a little bit intimidating because you're just like, well, I don't like that one. You know, it can be a little bit gatekeepy if people are like, oh, you know, oh, you don't like this. Well, why don't you like this? You should like this because it's one of the top beers. Like, you've got to be really careful with things like that.
Why don't you like this beer that's not ready yet?
I said nothing. That wasn't me.
But just remember, you're not a BJCP.
Like, yeah, getting into gatekeeping. Like, if you like, oh, so you say you like this style of beer, or you say you like this, then you must like XYZ. Nobody has to like anything. That's the whole joy of it.
The beer equivalent of like, that's a cool Nirvana t-shirt. Name your favourite Nirvana song.
Name your favourite Nirvana song.
Name 5 of your favourite songs.
100% is. You know, name, you know, oh, you've got this football team on. Name 5 players.
Oh yeah, I couldn't do that. I feel like the music one, I could get that. Like, I could get that comparison, because sometimes people might go, I just like the t-shirt design and I don't know who the band is, and that's equally okay. Yeah. And I feel like I hard relate to that, because sometimes I'm like, oh, I just bought the beer because I really like the label.
Yeah, I mean,
and maybe I'm like, oh, I'm not sure I like the beer, but the label's great.
Yeah, I just like, there are no wrong answers. Like, there's so many different beers for people to try. Like, enjoy what you enjoy. Let's stop this stupid gatekeeping.
It's quite difficult, isn't it, though? Because, like, when you talk about top beers and you talk about it from a personal opinion, as you said, everybody's opinion is different. So how can you, like, who is it that gets to decide what the top beer is and where the hype is? I think probably some of it might be around, you know, talk about Russian River, right? Because people are like, oh, Pliny's the best. But, like, is it that it's the best? Is it top rated because it is still the best? Or is it top rated because historically it has been one of the first to do something, one of the first to get that high quality of that particular taste, and the notoriety in a time when maybe not every brewery had that type of notoriety across the country, across the globe.
Were able to brew a beer that well. Like, you know, sometimes these beer styles came out and people were still learning how to do that. Like, I think the quality of brewing is higher now. Ingredients have got better over time, you know, skills have been built up over time. Like, there's so many more breweries now, even though we are still losing a lot of breweries as we go along. But, you know, I think there's less opportunity for breweries to be able to just put out a bunch of shit beers and be like, yeah, you know, because there's so much choice.
Happy with mediocrity.
Like, you can be more picky now, because there's a lot to choose from. So if you're like, well, I don't really like those, there is somewhere better that you can go find, you know. I think some of it is that these beers are really well made. Some of them are excellent examples of a style, and if you want to learn about that, or you want to know more about that, then it is a reason to try it. Top rated beers, I think, is different from beers that you have a fondness for. But I think some of these beers are up there because they like, some of these well-established beers are probably up there because, like we were talking about previously about beers, people have very fond memories about them, and so that they do, you know, still go, oh, you know, oh, that beer. There are certain beers now that are not quite as good as they used to be because of the way that, you know, the brewery's evolved, or it may have been taken over by somebody. You know, there's,
I agree.
You know, some of them are not quite as good as they may have been when they were first being hyped, or they first marked as top beers. So I think you got to take all of it with a bit of pinch of salt. You got to think about what you enjoy as a beer. Don't be forced into drinking something just because someone says that you have to, because you don't have to do anything.
Agree. I think again, going back to like the Russian River example, it's not to say that the quality isn't good with you know, Pliny or whatever. It's not to say that the quality's dropped. It's just to say that everyone else maybe has risen to the occasion and also makes really good quality beers.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's really hard because like when you have the just what tastes good, I almost kind of think like if we're talking about what makes a top beer, is it style guidelines or general taste? I kind of feel like it has to be a mix of the two.
Yeah.
Because I think you can't be too stringent on like style guidelines say this, because you're going to have stuff that falls outside the guidelines and they're going to be so dramatically different but maybe technically grouped into the same category but are so different that like how do you even compare them? And you might have something that's like classed as a particular style that you have that you go, actually that doesn't taste like that style at all, but that is a banging beer.
I mean,
it's
as we
hard,
said
isn't
before, style guidelines were written for competitions, but brewers are going to brew. They're going to make what they want. I haven't told you this. So
oh god, I like this.
brewery
I
that
like
we
when you
know-
tell me the first time on a recording and you're like, I haven't told you this yet. And I'm like, oh girl, bring it.
I'm excited for this. I'm not going to name names,
Okay.
but I will tell you when we're not recording. But a certain brewery that we know is bringing like he's making me giggle. Are bringing out a dark mild IPA.
Yeah, but I like that.
I know, so do I. But
I like that because I can't wait for like people to get angry. Like I cannot wait for people on both sides of the fence of like trad and craft to get mad, because like you're gonna have like trad people that are like, this does not belong in that platform. Like, oh, you cannot mix those things. And then you're gonna have craft people that are like, this is not an IPA.
So
step too far.
So the brewer was like, yeah, we're bringing out a dark mild IPA. And I was sat with one of their marketing people and they were like, I said, isn't that just a black IPA? And I got told, absolutely not, it is not. And I was like, is it not a hopped dark mild? And he's like, apparently not. It is a dark mild IPA. And I was like,
you can call whatever you want though, can you?
And then I went up to the brewer and was like, you reckon you're going to get away with that? And he was like, yeah, it's going to be great. I'm like, all right. I was like, and they're only going to serve it on cask.
Oh yeah, okay, because that's your loophole, isn't it? You're like, it says right, mild, therefore it's not black IPA or anything because it's on cask. So it's...
And I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna go find some of it somewhere and try this because now I feel like I have to.
You said someone that we is it like somebody that we know, people that we both know someone that actually works there? Okay, cool. It's not just like, it's just because that could be a brewery we both know. We know a lot of breweries. Yeah, so I'm like, oh, okay, I can't wait to find out the deets on this one because.
Keep your eyes peeled for a dark mild IPA, everybody. I'm super excited about it.
On
cask.
It's
going to upset some people.
I can't wait for it to hit cask and to just have IPA in its name and those stale old people that are set in their ways are like, what is this?
I believe on the pump clip they've put dark mild and then listed the hops that are in it.
No, I really want them to put IPA on it.
I know, but they haven't because there wasn't enough room.
Oh, there's only 3 letters though. It's not that much more.
This is what I've been told.
I just want to watch the world burn.
They were like, we've created a new style, guys. And I was like,
I'm here for
hilarious. I love you. I love you.
That's funny, and I'm here for it. So let's like bring it on.
I need like this.
Bring it on. I cannot wait to find out who that is because that is great. Yeah, I think it's difficult though, because like when we're talking about like top beers, I do wonder like who, like when you think of top beers, what are the beers that come to your mind? Because like who is it that? Because I think of like, you know, the Russian rivers. So I did put something out there. I put something on Instagram and I got like a few responses to what I put on there because I put a photo of Julius just saying, obviously some people say that this is sort of like the beer and other people disagree. Do you agree or disagree? And I had people throw out, you know, Russian River, Pliny the Elder, which I feel like we can agree that one is definitely what everyone would consider a top beer. Must try before you die. Joey, Beer in the City Guides, he put Heady Topper Reign Supreme, which fair enough. I can't wait because I'm going there as well. So that's my trip in June as I'm going to be stopping by there. I got to get you one of those or 4 because
Or 4.
Or
Yeah.
4. 1 or 4. You might end up with 1. We might do another episode because I've had to buy a 4-pack. I don't know. Although Joey did give me like a really good prompt where he was like, you could try it on can, like do a can to keg comparison, and I was like, I'll do you one better. I will do you a from the can versus poured into a glass comparison,
because that one says on the can to drink it out of the can.
That's really gonna wind me up, but I might even be able to get Rick to do like content with me for that would be funny. And then the Boozy Cook said not even King Julius I found a bit meh. Perhaps my expectations were too high and it's better fresh. To be fair, like this isn't unfresh. Like I know for a fact this isn't unfresh because this was more recent that I got it. But yeah, like when you're ordering them from wherever, like that can also take your view. Like you could be going, this is a top beer, it's so renowned, I have to try it, and then you get it. But if you've imported it and you don't even know who you've imported it from or how long it's been sat there or whatever, you're not having it as fresh as it could be. Especially when it's something that is a core range beer like Julius, where you don't really know how long it's been around there, if that makes sense. And that's going to taint your view in it. And all of a sudden you're like, what is everyone talking about the hype on this? Because it's just like, it's fine, especially if it's a hoppy beer.
Yeah.
Shall we have our next beer? Because then we can kind of dig a bit more into how you came up with your list of the top beers that you're going through. Because I think it'd be interesting to see if you can give some advice for people to kind of create their own list. And this is where it kind of verges on, is it a top beer list? Is it a bucket list? We have our own opinions on it. We can talk about that. So let's get the next beer out. All right.
Right, second beer. Queen Julius.
Queen Julius.
Oh, this is a double IPA.
It is. So I would love to see. I think this is probably the upper end of my sweet spot. I cannot wait to see how you react to this, especially after Julius.
Sweet floral character.
But yeah, I'll read the back of it. So Queen Julius is an American double IPA brewed with a novel blend of hops, resulting in an immensely juiced beverage. The addition of classic American hops brings about whispers of sweet floral character that melds perfectly with the celebrated base beer. So the base beer being the normal Julius. The Queen pours a turbid orange colour in the glass and carries easily distinguished notes of ripe cantaloupe, juicy citrus, gooey papaya, and sweet honey. And what I like about this most is the portion of the proceeds from each batch of Queen will be donated to the National Breast Cancer Foundation. Thank you for drinking and thank you for contributing. Enjoy and be well.
Might even keep this can, you know.
It's a lovely can. I've got another whole can of this as well because I had to buy a 4-pack. So, you know, just in case anyone wasn't sure, I had to buy a 4-pack.
4 packs.
So, and then I was gonna give it away.
Messages.
And, because I'd go into the shop and I'd be like, and I wanted this, and I was like, it's a fucking 4-pack.
I get 4 packs, and I get like this messenger message either.
It's probably more. It'll probably be more like a voice note of like, and another fucking 4-pack.
I had to get another 4-pack. And I was like, oh god.
I got the slushy cider, which I am like maintaining. Excellent. That's a 4-pack that I'm not sad about. So
it's the same colour. Looks like Solero again. Same colour as the Julius.
For comparison, I'll give you a
glass
by booze. I'll give you a glass by glass replay of that. Yeah, they literally look identical. So it's a good thing I don't have another one of these big sturdy glasses because. So yeah, I've had this already. I've got another can of it.
Smell honey. I can smell a bit of biscuit.
I almost gave one of these cans away to somebody else, and then I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I justified like taking them all over to the UK because I said to Rick, I was like, if I wanted to sell these, I could probably sell these and I could probably sell one and make a profit on like the whole 4-pack. I wouldn't do that because I'm not going to do that, but also I just want to drink it. I'm not going to influence your opinion. I want to get your full unadulterated opinion though before I say anything else.
All right, I'm going in.
Cheers.
I like this one better.
Do you?
The body is softer.
It's more what you expect from Julius, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I'm getting papaya. There is still a little bit of bitterness, but it's not as upfront as
No.
Julius.
It is a Yas Queen moment, in my opinion. This is the one. Spoiler alert: this is the one that I wish I put into the really big glass, but I wanted to christen it with the Queen. But then also I was like, nah, it's got to be Julius, didn't it?
There's papaya. There's melon.
You really get the melon.
Yeah, I really get the melon.
The melon really brings the softness to it, I think, and that delicate sort of like the delicate sweetness is the melon.
More delicate.
There's definitely the bitterness, but I think it's overpowered by juicy and like sweetness, and it's softer. It's definitely more velvety.
It's softer. The body is softer. It's not as carbonated. There's not like this prickliness that I was getting from Julius. Like this one, there's a bitterness. It kind of lingers on my lips, but then disappears in this soft mouthfeel with this papaya and mango. Not mango, papaya and melon. Like, it's nice.
I think it works in a way where you have that bitterness, but it's more of a Moorish bitterness than it is.
Yeah, because it cleans the palate.
Yeah, but you have all these other like sweeter, fruitier, juicier flavors. Definitely, like I think that melon is so strong, and usually melon gets kind of lost.
Yeah.
In melon, especially when you've got it against some of these other bolder flavors and that bitterness, like that could easily get lost.
Yeah,
I think it stands out quite well. The third beer that we have that we will eventually get into, that I haven't had that one yet. I have had this one, so I knew how good this one was. I have had Julius. I know what that one's like. Haven't had the third one, so it'd be really interesting to see where the third one sits with them. But literally, I absolutely adored Queen Julius. I think Queen Julius is just, for me, I would get it again and again. Like I would go back. Like if I were to go back again, like that is, and I had to buy another 4-pack, that would be what I'd get another 4-pack of, and I wouldn't feel like I just bought a 4-pack that I just went through the motions of buying. Like I actually find it really enjoyable. Does it taste like 8.1%? Nah, I don't think so.
It does feel boozy to me, but
doesn't feel like boozy to me. It feels more.
This isn't.
To me, it feels, again, I wouldn't say 8.1%. I would say it feels more like maybe 7% at a push.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But I can definitely feel the booze in it.
I think it comes through with that melony taste, like the melon type taste comes very strongly towards the back end as well, and that's when you're getting almost like the bitterness, and there's like a sharp booziness to it at the end, like that boozy warmth towards the end of it. But I would say like it doesn't feel 8.1% feels like really high compared to what I'm getting out of it. Like, do I think I could sit there and session like a bunch of them? No. But like I feel like it is bordering on danger juice as far as IPAs go, because I feel like I could have a few of these and then I feel like I could have 2 and then be like, oh, that, because I feel like I would drink it really quickly and then be like, oh, how did that happen?
Yeah, I don't think I'll drink more than one.
See, I would.
I'm not a hoppy beer drinker. That's not the ones but I would drink one and appreciate it.
I think this for me is like, in terms of peak what I like for hoppy beers, like if I were to distill what I like from hoppy beers into, because again, this is also, I think, listed as an American IPA. Like this is not like American IPA. I feel like, I mean, you're not fooling me, Treehouse. It's not
right. Like air quotes American IPA is technically a West Coast. Technically,
that's what I think, or like somewhere in the middle, where I think for me, this one, I could see the argument with Julius, even though there's definitely more New England tendencies. But this one, I'm like,
this definitely sits closer towards.
You're not fooling me. I got your number. But I think this for me lands on, if I were to describe what my perfect IPA is, out of all the ones I've had, Queen Julius is probably my favorite IPA, I'd have to say. So, and I'm not one that normally says, here's a label of my favorite or my beer of the years or anything like that. But I would say Queen Julius it's my queen. It's my Queen. And I'm just really thankful that
beer.
it is the Queen and not, because I've had like King Canopy the other day.
Yeah.
King Canopy was like awesome. That's another variation on Julius. So like I've had the other variations. I've had like the King ones or whatever. But Queen Julius, I'm so glad that my favourite one is a Queen. And like the money, some of the proceeds go to breast cancer research, which I'm like,
yeah,
big ups for that. So yeah, makes me happy. I don't really want to spoil. I feel like I've already spoiled how I feel. Don't spoil how you feel about the end of like which of the beers that you're definitely like top beers should try and which one or not. But talk more about your blog post, like how, like, I know we've talked about it briefly before in passing, but like give us more detail on that and then how you went about compiling that list, because I think we both have some guidance and reference points that we've used for list making.
So I was trying to work out some themes that I could use on the blog and some things that I could look at, and I've done beer reviews in the past, and I've kind of stopped putting like number values to them, like whatever out of 5, because I can tell you what I think about it, but everyone's opinions I think are different. So I stopped kind of putting a quantity or a number on it to kind of influence people. So I was having a look at things, and I was like, oh, like something that'd be really good would be looking at well-known beers and whether people should try them or not. So I had several of those, various different these beers you must try type books. So I've got the pile over here. So I've already got,
I was going to say,
1001 beers you must try before you die. Chonky book. 1001 beers you must try before
That's
you die.
a lot of beers. Do you recommend the book?
That's a lot of beers. It's all right. I mean, this is the thing. I've got lots of different ones.
It's very binary. 1001. Why 1001? Why not just round it off to 1,000?
I think there's now another book as well that's like 1,001 or 1,000 more beers you should try before.
1,000,000 beers you should try before you die, which is the compendium of all the books.
Right. But I've also got 300 beers to try before you die.
Oh my goodness!
Which is another book. And 300 more beers you should try before you die.
So that is, hold on, if we're doing the math, and I'm bad at math, that is 1,601 beers. And now, one. Don't forget the extra one.
So obviously there are some overlaps in these, because the first one was edited by Adrian Tierney Jones, and these two, the 300 ones, were done by Roger Prost. The 300 ones are from Camera Publishing. This one, the 1,001 is from Octopus Books, so that's something slightly different. I went through these. Now, the thing with these is, let's have a look when the 1,001 beers.
Well, I was going to say, the problem is they get dated, though, don't they?
Right, because as soon as, and just like we were saying about the hop books, as soon as you publish it, it's going to go out of date. So this was reprinted in 2010.
It's difficult as well, because when you think about it, I feel like books like these are really more based for not the UK market. Like, because the reason I say that is my argument is there's a lot less, obviously we just talked about Core Rangers the other day, there's a lot less Core Rangers staples yearly rebrews that you're guaranteed to get every year, as opposed to in the US and in places like Belgium or anything where you're getting these very specific beers, whether it be monthly or yearly, like that these are going to come out. It's probably a lot harder for the UK market, because I just don't feel like we have that.
I mean, there's a lot of England. So
you've got like Maiden, obviously, and Stoutzilla and stuff like that comes out yearly.
Yeah. And I think so some of these things, like, I find it interesting how they put them, like how they order them in the book as well. So this one has an index of them by country, but then they are separated by amber, blonde, white, dark, specialty, which I thought was interesting.
That is interesting.
The 300 books are done by beer style. So it looks at India Pale Ales, Pilsners, Brown and Mild Ales, Pale Ales, Bitters, Best Bitters, Extra Strong Beers and Bitters, Old Ales, Barley Wines and Vintage Ales, Porters and Stouts, Golden Ales, Burton Ales. Burton Ales? I mean, how many Burton Ales do you see nowadays?
0. Because I'm here going, what?
Right, Irish red ales, wheat beers, Abbey and Trappist, Belgian, Lambic and Gers, French beers, alt amber and Kolsch, pale lagers, dark lagers, box, Gruit and specialty beers, and Danish gypsy beers.
Did you hear
As
that?
in-
Phelan's getting irate about that.
Phelan's like, what is that all about? That's 300 more beers.
That's a lot of beers.
Just 300.
But like, what happens if something falls out of some of those style guidelines as well?
Right,
It's like,
right,
oh, do you
so
just
this is the
not
thing.
acknowledge them as a...
Equally as long list on the 300. So I feel like, so I went through these because I was like, oh, this is cool. And I did find a blog that was someone that has gone through, I think it's the 1001 beers book, and is trying to do all of them. But it can be very difficult because some of these
are they even
from,
all accurate? Like, can you even get all of those
some of
anymore?
them are not being produced anymore. Some of them are, you know, very specific to a particular country and a particular place. So you've got to go to that place to get them. Like, there are some real barriers to entry for some of them.
I was going to say, like, well, as a person that is, you know, I've learned this phrase through, I've learned this word through, because I'm so young. I've learned this through like Instagram reels or memes.
Yeah.
I've learned it through memes. The phrase dink, which normally I would be like,
What does that
haha,
mean?
I'd be like, dink, that's like you're calling someone that, like they're like a dork. No, it means double income, no kids. And so that is, you know, we are a double income, no kids household. So we have the luxury of like, we're in a better position to be able to travel to some of those places. So I'm definitely not here being like, oh, as much as I say I never get to travel anywhere, it just means when I say I never get to travel anywhere, that means I don't get to go to Germany yet. I'm very fortunate with where I get to travel to, whether that be because of family or whether that be for whatever, for holiday purposes or whatever. And we are two people that like to travel, so I'm very fortunate that we both agree like that is where, you know, our spare income gets to go to. So I'm very, you know, and living in Europe, like I can say, as opposed to when I lived in the US, it is a lot harder, it's a lot more expensive. It's so much easier, even post Brexit, it's so much easier to travel around Europe here than it is to go from the US. So I think I'm in a privileged position in that front. But like I can imagine, like you said, barrier to entry was like the first thing that came into my mind, whereas like you, in order to get some of these, you have to go to where they are because they are just not going to be imported, or they're probably such small. I know there's some, you know, there's some European ones I'm thinking of that are so small batch, and you really do have to go there because they care so much about the distribution of the beer and like where it's going, that you have to go to the source to get it or around the source to get it. So I can imagine that's a challenge. And if you're from California, for example, just, you know, sticking with that Russian River theme, like, yeah, you can get Russian River, but how difficult is it for you to get some of these other like Trappist beers, for example?
Right. I mean, look at this right on the front of 300 beers, Alaskan Amber, mate.
Oh, completed it,
mate.
I did it. I didn't even try. I did have my eyes closed.
That's because I got it for you. Like, you know, I brought it over. So I was looking at this list and I was like, oh, that's cool. And like some of them, and I feel like they're also quite traditional in their styles, and not everyone, like if you want to try a broad range of beers, yes, like I'm definitely an advocate for trying different beer styles, trying more traditional beers so you can understand all the flavors and things, but that might not be to your taste either. Like, and like because these are older, they haven't necessarily got some of these, like Stoutzilla, like Oregon Trail, like Julius. It's not in here because, you know, these are great beers, but they're not in these beers, in this list of beers. So I was like, right, I had a look what other books there were. There is Matt Curtis's Modern British Beer.
I've got that as well on my desk.
Yeah.
I've got Modern British Beer and I've got World's Greatest Beers.
And I looked at World's Greatest Beers. Now, Clang, that's me name dropping. So
as per usual.
Clang, excuse me. I was talking to Pete Brown about this.
Oh yeah, of course you were. You're a very near and dear friend.
It actually happened. The first time I was talking to him, it was just as World's Greatest Beers was being published, and we were talking about it, and he said that when he was writing his sections, he didn't want to say, this is my favourite beer or this is the best beer, because it was a good beer to him and he felt that it was a great beer that people should try. But he's like, but everyone's opinions on this is different. Everyone's palates are different. Everyone likes different things. So he really tries to avoid saying, this is the best beer, you must try this. This is the greatest beer, you must try this. He's like, because everyone's opinion is different. He's like, but there's one that I can recommend that maybe you should give it a go if you can find it, or if you feel like it. And that really stuck with me. And that kind of, when I was looking at these books, I was like, that's the way that I want to do it. And I like, when I started Love Beer Learning, it's, times are very different now from when I started Love Beer Learning in my life. But one of the things I wanted to do is make it accessible to everybody, make it easy to do. And so looking at these things, I was like, how can I make this accessible, make it for people to help them make their decisions? So I have gone through, I started in 1001, then I went through 300, I went through 300 more, then through the other two. And I've made a spreadsheet of beers that I picked out, either because I've had them before and I know that they're really good, or I feel like it is something that people should try. And then I've noted whether it was something that was in more than one of these books and how many ones. And I've made a list that I want to work through, and I'm going to try and get them or talk about my experiences of having them previously. And then the whole point, like, I talk about it, talk about tasting notes, and then I say whether I think you should try it and the reasons behind why I think you should. Spoiler alert, most of the ones that I've posted so far, I think you should try, but there's different reasons for why I think you should try them. And one of them, I think I'm about to put out Sonoma from Track. Mainly because, so that one's in Modern British Beer, I reckon. And I've done that one recently because I was lucky enough to be at the Track tap room recently, and so I did Sonoma on cask, Sonoma on keg, Sonoma AF, and then I had it in can at home. So I've tried all of them quite close together. And my spoiler alert for that blog post is that you might not try the beer because you want to try a pale. A very good example. It is a very good example of a pale ale. It might not be a pale ale. You might not necessarily enjoy a pale ale, but if you get the opportunity, you should definitely try it on keg, it on cask, the AF version, the can version, to see the difference of that beer on those different dispense methods and how that changes the profile of it, because it does.
I absolutely love when you go to places and
So
they have
geeky.
keg
and I was
versus
like,
can, like keg versus
geeky.
Can versus cask. Yeah. I love that so much. Like anytime even there's a keg and cask duo, I'm like, yes, gonna try it.
And so my recommendation for that is do it to be really geeky. So there are different reasons for why I think you should try it. Interestingly, the first one that I did was Jaipur because it was in every single one of these books.
Oh yeah, and it literally, that is one of the ones. It's funny because you were saying about the other books where you were like, oh, they don't have necessarily they are more traditional. They don't have the Stoutzillas. They don't have the Treehouses. They don't have, I mentioned Maiden earlier. The thing about, World's Greatest Beers is they have, I marked it off, they have, Julius, they have, next to that is Maiden.
It's Maiden.
And that's Stoutzilla in it.
That's where I got a lot of the more modern, more craft beers from.
But it's not even that. You've got the Stoutzilla and directly next to it is Titanic Plum Porter.
Yeah,
which is like, nice... I kind of like the balance because this book to me, you've got Siren's Broken Dream core range beer and you've got the Colonel Imperial Brown Stout, but then you also in Oregon Trail, you have some more trad stuff as well in there. Yeah. And then you've got, your Treehouse of the world. And what I was laughing at the start of it is when we did the beers and we had the Mars Brow.
Yeah.
Whatever it's called.
You were very excited about that.
I had it's in that book. It's in the book. And it was funny because I was like, I accidentally got this because I thought the name was great and the label was great. not expecting it to pop up in a book anywhere. And I got this book after the fact and was flipping through, and I was like, I've got it. This is great. And what had popped up at the start of us recording was the photo that I took of the beer next to the book. And I was like, oh, that's great. But I feel like this book in particular, I can't speak for the ones you have, but it feels very real. It feels very relatable.
Is pretty good.
Which I like how relatable it is. It's stuff that I think you can find. Obviously, there's still some barrier to entry.
At the minute. So this isn't. We're recording this in 2024. Some of these books were done before 2010. So when they were written, some of those beers were probably very accessible and available.
Yeah.
But we're now, 14 years down the line. Like Anchor Steam will definitely be in these books. Anchor Porter will definitely be in these books. Anchor's fighting to even exist at the minute. Like, so they're not. I don't think they're really brewing.
I thought they were. I thought they were done. I thought so.
There's a collective. Shut. No, so I think they are shut. But there's a collective of the workers who are trying to. They were trying to fundraise to be able to buy the brewery themselves, and then they were not going to be able to raise as much as some buyers that wanted to invest in it. Some proposals have been put forward, and they can't do anything more until they find out whether any of those are accepted. But they have been working with the people that have been putting the proposals forward to try and keep Anchor as as close to what it was as possible. I mean, Anchor Steam and Anchor Porter are amazing beers. Their Christmas beer, amazing. They're going to be in these books, but you're not going to be able to get them.
No, and I think that's
and they may never be the same again if it's owned by somebody else.
And I think that's a difficulty. So, whereas the world's greatest beer feels like that's the most accessible. Current. Yeah, I mean, I do have. So in addition to, I also had pulled Modern British Beer next to me as well, but it's not even just necessarily when we're talking about like the top beers, but sometimes in terms of like top breweries and places to visit as well.
Yeah,
I've also got. I know this is 2023, but I've got the Good Beer Yearbook of 2023, which there's so many resources here for breweries as well, and it's broken down by where in the world it is, which part of the UK it is. For the ones that are in the UK, there's a whole roundup of news and beers and all that goodness, and so that's kind of good for you can flip through and you can be like, oh. If you aren't necessarily looking for like top beers and you're looking for like top breweries or places to visit, like, oh, where should I be looking out for? What's the ones that I should be trying? We got Ruth in that as well. I'm just going to share that photo, Ruth, because that was a complete accident. I accidentally flipped to that page, and I'm probably going to get a really angry message.
Has she signed it?
No.
Ruth, you got to sign the book.
Don't say that, because then she's going to do the same back to me, and I will hate that. I will absolutely hate that. But it's an agreement that if she makes me sign my book, she has to sign. She has to sign mine.
Just in case we haven't said it in a while, we're in a book, everybody.
We're in a book.
Go buy The Devil's in the Dry.
And when I said, like, if she makes me sign my book, like, I wrote it, and I'm not just, like, a photo in it and a quote. I'm like, if she makes me sign my book. But, yeah, no, there's, like, really, really good beers and breweries that are in this. And, like, this one's really good. I just flipped open. There was Fierce in there. We were just talking about Fierce earlier. That was great. But also what I'm very excited to look at, because I sometimes I have these books and I forget to even reference them. But I have the Beer Bucket List, which is a travel size guide.
I have that too.
To over 150 of the best beer experience on the planet. That's Mark Dredge.
That's a good one.
I haven't even thought to look in here, and I am planning a mini road trip, because when I have to go to the US, Rick and I were working out, like, where can we go in the US? Like, I wanted to go for beer, and he was like, please don't make it all about beer. And I was like, fine, it can be food too, and I guess some other things. So we've landed on, we'll do Burlington, Vermont. We'll drive up to, because we couldn't really go too far. So we only had a week, like full on, just 1 week. So thought we'll fly into Boston, we'll drive up to Vermont, we'll go to Burlington, which looks absolutely lovely. So much beer. I can't wait for the stuff that I have in the works to potentially not actually follow through on, so we'll see. But all those breweries, and then drive up to Canada. We're going to go to Montreal, and then we're going to come back down to Portland, which I am very familiar with Portland. So that is the selfish part. That's just fun, because I never get to go in summer. It's always winter and miserable. So I'm very excited to get to go within this last decade when it's actually lovely and sunny and I can stay there and I don't have to drive home. Because normally it's like when it's nice out, I've got to drive home and I don't want to do that. But I didn't even think about the fact that like I randomly flipped open a page earlier and it was a brewery that was in Montreal that I had already listed it on my list of places to go. And I was like, I never even thought it was, and I've just done it again. I've just flipped open to it again. It was Dieu de Ciel. I don't even know if I've pronounced that right because I failed French, but it is this one if you're looking at the video.
Oh yeah, I literally had a beer by them the other day.
So that was on my list, and I was just like happened to be flipping through before we started recording. So I was like, oh, let's have a look at some of it. And I completely forgot to even consult this book, which is, it's not just beers, but it's also beer experiences in general. And I was like, why am I not doing this? Like, why am I
that
not
book's great.
going to? I bought the books, I've flipped through it, and then I've gone, I'll read that later. Promptly not read through it. And then I'm like, I feel like I'm missing out. But I feel like those resources as well, when you're looking at top beers, like you might as well also consider looking at top breweries. That's just my 2p on it. Have you devised like a spreadsheet that I can steal off of you again? Because like I feel like I stole the Untapped one. I unashamedly. So yes, I created my own thing that I'm running with as well in parallel. Yeah. That is I feel like I've definitely overcomplicated it for myself.
You definitely have.
Yeah, but it's going to be so fun when that comes. When the end of the year wrap up is going to be so good.
Because she wants to Power BI it. That's what's happening here. I was telling Tom about this. Hi, Tom.
Because I want to Power BI it. What the fact that I want to Power BI my stats? Yeah,
I was just like, so she's. And I was like, I've got my spreadsheet with my stars on. I was like, Tori's taking it and taking it even further. And he's like, why? I was like, because she wants to put it through Power BI and visualize it all.
What was his reaction to that, though?
He was like, what does she work in? IT.
Were you
like communications?
No, I work in IT. I don't work in communications. I actually legitimately work in IT now.
IT. I was like, project management. Yeah.
Yeah. IT.
That's what yes, I put all these on a spreadsheet of the ones I wanted, and it's got, so I've got the beers and the brewery, and then I've got which page in the book, in each of the books they're in, so that I could flip to it when I needed it. And then I've got, have I bought it? Have I drunk it? Have I written notes on it? Have I written the blog post on it? Have I posted it?
Well, I was going to say that was either.
It's a long list.
That was either, can I?
Let me see how many.
I was going to say, my question was either going to be, can I steal that spreadsheet from you?
Yeah, of course.
Or can I borrow the books? Because it depends. I will literally go through it and be like, I will go through but I will go through it and I will list out every single beer that spreadsheet has
I haven't
to
done
offer.
Every single one. I mean, I've got 180. I've picked 180 beers.
I feel like
out of those,
if I can just borrow those books for like a month, I will go through and I will make an itemized list of every single beer that comes up in general and where they cross over.
Yes, you can have my spreadsheet and you can borrow my books as well. Don't take my tabs out though.
Oh, I don't need to take the tabs out.
You'll see that I only did it in 1001 beers that I marked all the different ones I wanted. There's lots of different colours. There's no reason for that. I just ran out of, as I ran out of the colour, I went to the next one. There's no reason for those colours. Don't get excited about it.
I got really excited because I was like, I'm with you. What do the colours mean?
They mean I ran out of that colour tab because I tabbed so many.
As I was going through the world's greatest beers, it was really cool to see like just how many that I was like, I've had that by accident. I've had that.
Yeah.
Also by accident.
I do feel like I need to go through these actually and tick and put a little tick on the ones that I have actually drunk over time. Because some of these I have drunk, like, back in the day when I was doing my travels, I've sampled some of these and I'll flick through and I'll be like, oh, I had that. It was randomly a beer that I picked up in Canada somewhere, or randomly a beer that I picked up in Alaska, or found it in a liquor store somewhere, it's an old traditional beer that I had years ago at a festival or something. Like, I've had quite a few of them. I haven't had 1,000 of them, but I've had quite a few.
So if you were talking us through, like, let's say Queen Julius was on the list, right? Obviously you kind of gave a high level of like what you do, but like, talk us through, like, if Queen Julius was on the list and you're like, I have to try a Queen. Obviously, we could do it with the Julius, but I don't want to spoiler alert what you're going to do with that. So let's say Queen Julius was on your list. Like, break down. Let's go through the process of like what you do right
Well,
now.
I have like it's fairly templated depending on the beer. I tend to do like I'll have a quick read through of what the different things say in the books about it. I will make sure that I've tried it and I've taken photo like, variety of different photos. So that I've got some for the blog post.
All the photos. Do the ones you use for the blog post, are those the same ones you put on Untapped, or do you go no?
Well,
those are like more
one,
basic.
I only need one for Untapped, and then I need several for the blog post.
I was so embarrassed because I checked in the Omnipolo Mexican lager the other day, but because I didn't have the patience to go back and find the one that you had sent me. You sent it to me, but I didn't have the patience to go and try to find it and save it to upload it. And I went, oh fuck it, I'll just upload the lime in the bottle.
Have you had any comments?
No, thankfully not. And we were joking about the fact that I was going to put that on there and just see who I anger, but thankfully I did it. Not even by a dare. No one said anything yet.
Nobody said anything. Interesting. So then I like to do a little bit about the history of the brewery, a little bit about the history of the beer, especially if it's something that's kind of like one that they kind of developed over time or was like very pivotal in development of the brewery, because some of these beers are pivotal in the development of the brewery and they're flagship beers and things. Then I'll do my tasting notes on it. So when I write tasting notes, I tend to keep it quite short because I kind of trained myself to keep it quite short to fit into the small box on Untapped. But then I'll kind of expand it because I know I'm doing these for a blog post, I'll take extra notes so I'll expand
take my level of notes.
Yeah. And they're not even as intricate as some of your notes. You take ridiculous amounts.
That's why I don't really take notes anymore. Because I'm just like, this is a burden.
Yeah, and then I do a kind of wrap up of should you try this, and say whether I think people should try it or not. With different ones, I might also like if it was something that I try, like when I do Alaskan Amber, I'll also include like some personal anecdotes from like when I tried it the first time, or things that like I think I added a little bit into Jaipur and kind of compared the notes that I took the first time I drank it, which was a long time ago before I'd developed my palate or had learned about beer tasting properly, compared to how I try what I think of it now. With like Oregon Trail, I talked about the variations of Oregon Trail. And then obviously with Sonoma, we're looking at the different cask dispense. So there's something slightly different for each one. But overall, history, development of the beer, tasting notes, should you try it? Where you can find it in the books if you want to go find it in the books.
I genuinely like the approach of the should you try it, yes or no, and that is strictly because we've talked about it. I've said it numerous times before and I'll say it again. I find it really hard to rate out of 5 because it's like how do you even go about doing it? It's not even just beer, like just in life I find the numerical rating system for me it's just very hard, because I'm like, it depends on, as a person that has in their teenage years been diagnosed with bipolar, I'm like very much like it depends. If I was going to be a Pokemon, I'm going to be Eevee, because I've got so many different iterations of me. But it is that thing of like it's really hard because it depends on my mood that day, and like it's raining out, so actually maybe I don't like this. It's sunny out, I love it. It's got to be really hard.
See it isn't the same as how someone else is going to see it. That's why I really wanted to add that section in, because from my opinion, as someone who is a trained taster and has, learned about brewing, learned about all these different things, should you try it as part of your craft beer journey is how I'm looking at it. And generally the answer will be yes, because of this. Or if you want to do this, then you should try it. Like, I think most of them are probably, like the ones that I've picked, there's probably going to be a yes, because of this, rather than a nah, don't bother. But it is like, I think with Oregon Trail, I was like, if you want to find a good example of a West Coast IPA in the UK that is accessible to you, Oregon Trail is probably a good one for you to grab hold of, because it's pretty spot on for its beer styles, for its beer style guidelines, and you can get it relatively easily nowadays. This is you're not going to get Pliny the Elder easily. But you could get Oregon Trail if you want to know what a West Coast IPA should taste like.
Yeah, no, completely agree. And like for me, I always kind of say that I wish that, Untapped had like a thumbs up, thumbs down versus a rating system. Because for me, I like to be like thumbs up, like thumbs up, thumbs down, medium thumb. Like that's like in the middle thumb. Because I want it to be like, I actually like it. I would recommend it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Thumbs down, it's not for me. I wouldn't recommend it because I didn't enjoy it. Or like a medium, I think the thumbs down is not even just I didn't enjoy it. It's just like, I didn't think it tasted great. And then like the medium thumb is like, I guess it sort of depends on the person. That's like, it's more potentially of an acquired taste, or more you have to like a particular thing to like this. I feel like that is just the most basic that I could make it. And I completely get behind that. Like, would you recommend, is it a top beer that someone should have? Like, again, completely depends on your taste. But
is it just a beer that you should try as part of your journey? I mean, I was trying to think of a beer that I might say no, don't bother to, and I think if I've got Newcastle Brown on the list, because that's going to be in some of these books, I would probably say no about Newcastle Brown. Just I haven't done that one yet. But if I were to, I might say don't bother with Newcastle Brown, because it's not
I've never
what
had
it is
one
today.
And everyone is
never had a Newcastle Brown.
And everyone's like, oh, you got to have the Nuki Brown. I was like,
I mean, probably don't, because it's not as good nowadays as it was back in the day.
Well, because I wondered why everyone hyped about it, but I just never had it.
Yeah, I don't think it's as good. Like there are better brown ales out there. There are more flavourful brown ales out there now. Wasn't back in the day, but now I think there are.
When you talk about like what someone should have on their journey, like what do you identify as something that someone should have on their journey versus, because in my opinion, I go, whatever sounds interesting to you is what you should have on your journey. But like, do you in your mind have something that you think that is something that is worthwhile having on your journey, and that is something that I would just miss?
I think it's, if you want to know more about it and you're that interested in it, then you should be drinking widely. You should be trying lots of different styles, you should be trying different types of IPA. Like, because you can be, I'm like, they're not my favourite, but I don't mind an Oregon Trail. I don't mind,
I actually,
ones.
As much as I don't like West Coast, I actually really like an Oregon Trail, and I'm not saying that because that's my local. No, literally is because
it's a well-balanced beer.
It's a really well-balanced. Yeah. And normally what I don't like about West Coast is how bitter they are. And that is like, it is so well-balanced that I'm like, all right, I can have a pint. Like, I have actively picked that off a bar instead of some other things because it's just so easy to drink.
Exactly. So there are, you should try different things to see what you like and what you don't. I mean, you might know that you don't like certain beer styles. That's cool. Don't have those then. Try these other ones. But if you're starting out, there's such a wide world of beer for you to try. So you should. My suggestion is try a little bit of everything. And these ones are top rated. I mean, they are in these books for a reason, because they are, the beers that started certain things or started certain breweries or built up the reputations of breweries and brewers. They're beers that have been consistent over a long period of time. So there's a good reason why they're in those books. There probably is a good reason for you to try them, to learn more about what you like and about beer, how it's made, what different flavours you can get from different beers.
I think for me, when I think about like, is this something that's important on your journey as well? Part of what I would take into consideration of like, is it something someone should try on their journey, or, regardless of where they are on their journey, is it something that's like a must try before they die type sort of example? Part of me thinks that some of that plays into, is it something that stands out from the rest? Because I've definitely had beers that have been renowned for being the best of the best of the best.
Yeah.
And you have it and you just go, I won't shy away to say, like, I've had amazing Russian Rivers. I have had amazing, I'd what was called consecration over the Easter bank holiday weekend, and got that when I was in the US and I was saving it. And I was like, okay, Easter bank holiday, we can have that. And that was phenomenal. So good. But then when I had like Pliny, like my opinion on that, and I know people have agreed with me because I put it out there on Instagram, people came like commented back saying, yeah, agree, was I think people have hyped that up so much, and it's in all the books, and everyone talks about it, and everyone talks about how amazing it is, that it can never live up to that expectation. And for me, I think, as we said at the start of this episode, so many other beers have come up to that level. It's not dropped in quality. It is still amazing quality. It is great. If I had the opportunity to have it on tap somewhere, I'd absolutely have it. But like, would I pay a £20 charge for a 375ml bottle? Like, for me, I don't think I could justify that, because for me, I feel like there's nothing for me that was like so stand out. And I know I'm going to get so much hate about this, but there was nothing that was so stand out about it for me, my personal taste, that I was like, I can't see this being there's other beers that I go, that combination of things, the barrel it's aged in, like the what they've put into it, how they've made that beer is so unique and so different. Like, so let's talk Pillars, the ice box they make.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of the freeze distilled ice box. Like, you just don't get that a lot. So would I pay more for something like that? Yeah, because to me that is so unique, so different, and they taste really good, but also you don't get that all the time. Whereas I think like our quality of West Coast IPAs, for example, has come up so much that there's nothing so stand out that I'm like, that needs to be pay out the nose for it. I hope that all makes sense. Like, the ramble that I just went on, I hope that makes sense, because that is like, I go, is that worth somebody going out of their way to get it? Yes or no?
So we tried it together, and
we did.
I was skeptical. Like, you have heard, listeners, what I think about Julius in this. It's not bad beer. It's just not. It's not for me. When I drank Pliny, I was like, this is a well-made beer. And I can see why people absolutely love it. Is it for me? It's all right. Would I pay through the nose for it? Absolutely not. And I'm really glad. Like, not long before that, when we tried it, I almost got us a couple,
you tried to get us
and
one,
it sold out,
and it sold out within minutes, and somebody else managed to get it and brought it to a bottle share that we both got to try it.
Yeah, and I was like, actually, do you know what, the ones I was going to buy weren't extortionate, but they were more expensive than, after I tasted it, I'd have been willing to pay for it again. Like, it was like, it's a very well made beer. There's a real cleanness to it. I'm like, I understand why people really enjoy this. It's not for me, though.
Yeah, but my argument,
and that's okay.
But I think my argument is what is as well, is it's not a bad made beer, it's really good quality, but there are other breweries, even within the UK, that are making very similar, if not not the same quality of taste. It's hard, because I think you hold them up to a certain standard, and a lot of people want to say that the US is further ahead in beers than we are, but I think it depends on the brewery. I think it depends on the style, because I think there's a lot of times that you can find a brewery that's making just as good over here.
Yeah. But I mean, going back to this, right? 1001 beers that you should try before you die, right? Let's just randomly open this to some page.
I bet it's not going to be in existence anymore.
Larue's Triple.
All right.
I've never even heard of that beer. It was first brewed in 2003. I've never seen it over here.
What does it look like? Is there a photo?
Yeah.
For those watching. Oh, that's come up in, I think, World's Greatest Beer as well, actually.
Has it?
I think so.
I've never
that
seen it. That
looks familiar.
I mean, it's next to La Trappe Blonde, which you can get fairly easily. Lagunitas Pils. Czech style Pilsner. Like...
as I'm trying to find to see if it's in this book, there's Orval, and I'm like, I had it. I'm going to make an unpopular opinion here on that.
Are you? Because I like an Orval.
Yeah, but I also think that it's fine.
Was it? Yeah, but was it aged? Was it young?
Don't know.
Because that significantly changes Orval.
Don't know. Made the assumption it was aged, but I hadn't aged it myself.
Yeah, so you've got to depend on which one it is. Very old labelling on Jaipur in this picture.
Oh, can we see the photo for those of us watching the video?
An old, very old. It's in a bottle.
Oh yeah, it's not. How long
old.
ago was it in the bottle? What I really liked is there was Baladin, the beer Baladin. Nacional in this book as well. And I was like, we've had that. I recommended them to somebody not long ago, a few weeks ago. I was like
Meantime London Stout. I don't know if you can get that anymore. There's some mean times in here, like in several of these books, that I don't think you can get anymore. But yeah, it's like, I think this is the problem with these books, is like some of them aren't available anymore. Some of them you're never going to be able to get your hands on.
I guess if someone's wanting to make their own, if somebody wants to make their own list of top beers, or they feel like they want to have an authority on top beers, I feel like the books are really good to go to, but you can't rely solely on books. I just feel like it's really hard because there's no real one fit answer, in my opinion, of like where you can go to get these top lists. You have to look at books, you have to just Google, but also the other place to go, we'll crack open the next beer or the last beer in a minute, but what we can talk about when we do that as well at the start is there's also, you can lean on some beer awards that are out there. Kind of depends on what you're looking for, but let's get the next beer open. We can talk really, really briefly at a high level about what the beer awards are.
Third beer. I'm quite excited for this one, actually.
I'm really excited because this is actually the one that I haven't had yet.
Ooh.
It is Cobbler.
Cobbler.
Yeah, it's basically Julius. So I'll read the back, which is Cobbler is Julius conditioned atop a heavy dose of freeze-dried peaches. The fact that it's freeze-dried peaches already is like interesting to me. It's not just normal peaches. The resulting beer carries waves of overripe peach notes, encircled by prevalent but balanced citrus character. And I just want to say, the fact that I'm struggling to read this is not because
I'm very pale colouring.
It's not the Queen Julius that was 8.1%. It's the fact that try to read that if you're looking at the video. It's white on a very, very, very like pale bluey green, like
bluey colour.
Yeah, that is like robin's egg blue is like what I'd call it.
It's like or like a really washed out teal.
It's really, really pale, and then the writing's white and tiny, absolutely tiny.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get it. Peach. It's Julius. It's rested on freeze-dried peach.
So it says they like using freeze-dried fruits in Julius, as it presents a natural and concentrated flavour profile that well represents the fruit used.
Do you reckon this one's going to be more or less bitter than the other ones? Do you think it's going to be on par with the other ones? Do you think, like, going blind, do you think you're going to like it? Where do you think it's going to sit between Julius, Queen Julius, and this one? Where do you think it will sit?
I'm hoping that I'm going to like it more than Julius.
But less than Queen?
If I'll like it. Yeah, I think so.
See, I really like peach. I'm a peach fan.
Yeah. Peach gives me indigestion, so let's see how this goes. Oh, jeez. Because I'm old now.
Just officially old.
Not as old as Gordon. We'll never be as old as Gordon. Hi.
I mean, it basically looks the same, doesn't it?
It looks the same.
It does look again to Julius.
Smells like peach.
Oh, and I love peach. So I'm living the dream now.
I can still smell the booze.
It literally tastes like peach juice. Like, you know, when you have...
Have you drunk it?
No, I'm sorry. It smells like peach juice. Sorry, I was getting the taste in my mouth of it.
Ooh.
Do you know when you have...
I dipped my nose in the
You've done it me. I normally do that. It's not me this time. But you know when you have, like, tinned peaches?
Yeah.
Like, it smells like the juice from the tinned peaches.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to have a sip now.
Okay, cheers.
6.8%. So basically is Julius, but with peaches. I think it is very peachy, and I'm peachy keen on it.
I like it. It's not as bitter as Julius. It's got more carbonation about it than the Queen Julius. So I don't think it's not as pillowy in the body. Very peachy, with a like cleaning bitterness, but the bitterness is kind of lingering on my tongue.
See, I reckon it's the least bitter out of all of them.
Oh no, I don't agree.
I find it's the least bitter out of all of them, but in terms of I don't want to say my final roundup of it yet, but I would say it's less. Agree that it's less smooth and pillowy compared to Queen Julius, but more definitely the least bitter, but also arguably the least dimensional, least depth of flavor. But I love peach, so
Yeah, I mean it's creamy peach.
yes, peaches and cream. It's like you get similar like Tiny Rebel peaches and cream vibe, but like original. I know people are going to be so mad about that, but like original peaches and cream before Tiny Rebel went a bit like meh.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get that peaches and cream element to it. I'm
I
surprised
still
you
think I
got
like Queen
bitterness.
Julius better. No, I do.
I think. Right, should we, before we talk about anything else, should we just rank them? Should we just blind rank them? Not blind rank them, but as in, like, should we just commit now?
I'm committed.
I'm committed as well.
Like Queen Julius, Cobbler, Julius.
Same.
Top
This
5.
is the first time I think we've ever matched.
Yeah.
Yay, we matched. Because what I would say is, I think Queen Julius has that smoothness, that, like you said, it's that silky, velvety body to it. The melon is like the sweet melon is like what really sells it to me.
Yeah.
I will take the bitterness for for all the flavors that are there. Whereas like Cobbler, I love peach, but like because for me it is just peach, there might be the least amount of bitterness, but peach on its own, I feel like quite one-dimensional, not as fun. But then Julius, I actually think is the least exciting out of all of it because there's too much bitterness that it actually takes away. I think I do get all the fruitiness more so than you do, but I think the bitterness takes away from some of the fruitiness for me. So that's why
I got
that's
a
the
bit
lowest
more
level.
like as my palate adjusted to it and got used to it sip after sip, I got a bit more like overripe mango from it. But it still wasn't as tasty as it smelled.
For me, I think if you're going to have Julius, you should have a variant of Julius.
Yeah.
If you could only have Julius, then fine. Go, like I would say, have it versus don't have it. But if you could have a variant, especially Queen Julius, definitely go the Queen.
Like I wouldn't.
Yes, Queen.
I wouldn't encourage anyone to spend a lot of money on a Julius.
I don't think I'd encourage people to spend a lot of money on. Yeah, but I'm a person that's like I cannot encourage anyone to spend more, like aggressively more.
Yeah,
I understand import like fees and everything, but I think on any of these, because we have such bangers of like hazy boys in the UK, they're really good. But like, would I say to spend double what you can spend or triple what you can spend on a dipper?
Only
here?
if only if you're excited to try it.
If you've got the income and that's what you want to do it. But I can't say I co-sign that.
No.
But I do enjoy them. But that's also because I paid normal price for them, and I muled them over myself. So and I know that I took care of them, and then they've lived in my fridge this whole time, and it's been great. If people want to put together their own list, like I won't go into all of it now. Maybe we can do a bonus episode where we go through. We talked about a minute ago doing sort of untapped top ratings, and I mentioned about the different awards that are there. Maybe we can do a separate bonus episode where we look at some of the winners and we talk about that in more detail, about whether or not we have tried it, want to try it, what our thoughts on that. So we'll do a bonus episode on all that at some point. But just to touch upon like some of the beer awards that are out there. So there's so many, and I think the problem is like, how do you find the ones that are the most, I don't want to say reputable because all beer awards are reputable, but like where do you go to find the ones that are going to give you those top beers as opposed to the more localized ones? So some of the awards that you can look to, so just to rattle them off like in no particular order. Some people might be very familiar with them, some of them might not be familiar with them. Like I said, we'll do a bonus episode where we can dig into some of it even more. But you've got the World Beer Awards, which I think is probably the most popular. People will recognize the most when you go into supermarkets. Things will be branded with the World Beer Awards on them and stuff. So I think that is the most common one people will see. Then you'll have the SIBA Independent Beer Awards. There's also an International Beer Awards. I'm not sure if they're the same or they're different.
International Beer and Cider Awards.
Okay. I was going to say, because when I looked up,
That's separate.
I knew when I looked up SIBA, there was a SIBA Independent, and then there was a separate thing that said like international when I Googled, because I was looking specifically for it. And it was like, do you mean this? And I was like, nope. And so
No,
I was
I do
like, not sure if they're the same or different.
Yeah.
So thought I would just highlight that. So I guess that's two different ones right there already.
Yep.
You've got cameras. If you're camera inclined, you've got Cameras Champion of Britain / the GBBF Awards. So that could be a good one as well. I know, like, for example, talking about Oregon Trail, which is mentioned in a bunch of books, they've also won camera awards as well. And I'm sure they've won World Beer Awards and SIBA Beer Awards and everything else under the sun as well. So that can be one thing that if you are seeing a brewery or a particular beer coming up time and time again across these, it's definitely one for you to try. There was the Craft Beer Awards. There's a few that are done by the Brewers Association, which, as I was like looking through, it was really interesting because like I didn't realize just how many were done by the Brewers Association. So you have the Craft Beer Awards, which is mainly US focused. I believe that's annual. You also then have the World Beer Cup. And that is also the Brewers Association, and that is biannual. It's known as the Beer Olympics, which made me laugh because I was like, that's great. And I love the fact that it's called like the World Beer Cup. So that's fun. And then you have the Great American Beer Festival, so GABF. So we talked about that one before. And similar to that, we've talked about FOBAB, which is FOBAB. That's my favourite one to date. Love FOBAB. That's a festival of wood barrel aged beer. Although it is Festival of Wood Barrel Aged Beer, but there's no W in there. FOBAB. Yeah. Where's the dubs?
FOBAB.
FOBAB. FOBAB.
It's not as fun as FOBAB.
It's not as fun as FOBAB, but it's a bit of a twang.
Festival of Barrel Aged Beer.
Yeah, I like that. That's a fun one. But I also found that there was the European Beer Star Awards. There was
that's the awards for that are at Brau Beviale.
So when I googled it, I was like, I've definitely heard of that one, and that one's a good one. And then what I hadn't heard of before, which is the Australian International Beer Awards, but apparently that was quite a prestigious one as well. So I was like, cannot wait to look at that one, especially because it's international. That could be interesting to see what pops up there. And then one that I thought was particularly interesting to me and would be you as well is the Brussels Beer Challenge, because some of us are going to Brussels soon. So I guess spoiler alert.
Spoiler.
Well, I mean, this is coming out. I know when this is coming out. So spoiler alert, we're going to Brussels. I won't tell you when. But I thought it'd be good to mention that, because that would be good to kind of see, is there anywhere that we could definitely try that are on some of these lists and are award winners and stuff that we maybe wouldn't have thought to try that are less accessible from the UK. So definitely one for us to look at there. I think.
Side note, and not necessarily about the beer in the packaging, but I'm a Crushies judge.
Crushies?
The Crushies.
Where's that? I like that.
The Craft Beer Marketing Awards.
Oh, that's a fun name. I like that. Crushable.
Yeah, and I'm a Crushies judge, and that's for like, it can be about like rebrands, can art, things like that.
Oh my god, I've got so many nominations. I feel like that's the only one that I'm qualified for. It's like I can only judge like from that perspective, the artwork, the name, all of that.
It's really fun, actually.
I'm jealous.
I've done it the last 3 years in a row.
How do you get to be a Crushy judge? I want to be a Crushy judge.
I asked.
Oh, I don't want to ask because that gives me anxiety.
You can totally
that one gives me anxiety. But I do want to be like, this artwork's amazing. You win.
It was cool. So this year I judged
pretty decent, in my opinion. They're crushing it with their labels, but also I feel like we need to do a welfare check on them, because lately their labels I've hard related to, but I'm also a bit worried. So
do I need to get hold of Christian James?
Yeah, can you do a welfare check? Because one was like, you can maybe do it, and it was like the Nike logo, and I was like, hard relate. And then another one was, so I bought this one, it was a sour and it was amazing, and it said something like enjoy today because tomorrow looks a bit crap or something like that. And I was like, I relate to that. I'm buying that because the name is awesome. But then I was like, oh, but I kind of worry that, are they okay? Because when it all stacked up and I saw like a bunch of labels at once, I was like, I don't know if they're okay, and I want to make sure they are. Looking at Predecent, so the one that I bought the other day was live for today because tomorrow's looking crap. And there was that, and there was you can maybe do it, and I was like, I hard relate. Can we get them on? Because I feel like I really hard relate to everything that they're saying and doing. I also just worry for how they're doing, and I just want to make sure they're okay. Because I'm like, you're crushing it, it's fine. I just worry for them.
This year, so this year, I think I did best bottle design.
Oh, I want to do one. Oh, that sounds ruder than I meant. But I want to judge something like this. This sounds fun.
There were some really lovely bottle designs. One year I did rebrands.
I feel like this is the only part where I shine. Like, this is what I'm qualified to do. Is I can do this. I can go, that looks great, that looks great, that looks great. Yeah, but I won't ask.
But they were going to come on and we were going to do an episode, but it didn't happen.
But it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I guess, well, we finished this lovely beer. It brings us to the final part of this debate, which is the top rated beers versus bucket list. So I am on the team of, like, I personally feel like, yes, there's a divide. A beer bucket list, a beers to try before you die, should be made up of stuff that you actually want to try, and there doesn't have to be rhyme or reason behind it. But I also think that you can very much have a bucket list that is top beers that you should try because you're going on other people's opinion of what a top beer is. So something like, let me give you an example of something like Bourbon County Stout. Everyone, like, that would be across the board, like, you have to get a Bourbon County Stout, like, have to do it. Russian Red, have to do that. That's a bucket list, not because that might be your favorite style or what you care about, but because so many people go on about it that you're like, that's on the list. But you don't necessarily agree. State your case. What's your opinion on a beer bucket list then?
I mean, I think it should, like, I think it's going to be things that, I mean, I think I agree with that, though. Like, I don't know why you thought what I was saying was completely different.
Because I said, we talk about beer bucket list. You went, that's not really what this episode's about.
No, I said that's a whole other thing. Like, I think that's a whole other topic in and of itself that we can talk about. Is what we'd put on our beer bucket list and why.
I took away top beers being beer bucket list, and you going, that's a whole different episode. I don't think top rated
beers is necessarily what you should have on your bucket list.
But this is, I guess, this is where I disagree with that. Is I think, like, there's no length of a bucket list like a beer bucket list.
Well, no.
And I think, like, for me, some of the top rated beers would be on my bucket list of stuff that I haven't tried yet. Like, because of the fact that I'd go, it's top rated, it's coveted, like, it is something that everyone talks about, I need to try it. And it might be something that is just not my style. And I'm like, but I want to try it because everyone goes on about it. And so I think it would make it to my bucket list because of the fact that I'd go, everyone goes on about it, they must go on about it for a reason.
Yeah, but I think there's beers that I'm like, I know that that's not a beer that I'm necessarily going to enjoy. If someone had it, I'd try it, but I wouldn't put it on my bucket list because I know what I like and what I don't.
I think I've got a threshold to, like, I'm not willing to overpay.
Yeah.
But if you gave me...
I say that, though. I am willing to pay a lot of money for a Sam Adams Utopia. Just putting that
You're
out
willing
there.
to overpay for Sam Adams Utopia?
Yeah, 100%. Okay. That is at the top of my beer bucket list.
It's already like 200 quid. Like, what is overpaying?
Yeah, I don't care.
You're like, it's like 400.
Like, I didn't buy one when I was on that Disney cruise and I regret it. I should have done it.
Did they have them available on the Disney cruise?
They had one. They had one available. And I was going to buy it. It was 400 quid. And I was going to treat myself to it, and Gordon talked me out of it.
Oh. Oh, you're going to regret that.
Yeah, I know. I do. I already do. Gordon was like, that's ridiculous. Like, we'll get, like, but no, like, we'll manage to get you one from the US somehow. I should have just bought it.
I feel like there's no other way to end on this than that. But
my FOMO of not a big.
If you find a beer that you really want,
if you
find a beer you really want, just buy it. Buy
and
that
it is
beer
in front of you. Just buy it.
Yeah, just buy it.
Yeah. Don't do what I did, listeners. Don't listen to your stupid husband. Don't let him talk you out of it.
That's so harsh, but I think it's because it's coming from a place of my utopias. And you're like, don't let your stupid husband tell you whatever. Oh, harsh. But fair. But you know what? Just let it. If you see a beer that you want, don't let anyone limit you. Whether that be a husband, a family member, a child. You just tell them no. This is for me.
Yeah, I'm doing it. I mean, don't bankrupt yourself.
It has to be. Yeah, we don't co-sign on you going broke for that.
No, I would have had the expendable income to do it, and I didn't do it.
Well, there you go. We sort of talk about top-rated beers. We probably more just talked about Treehouse and like a bunch of other ridiculousness. But I think it will be fun. We'll come back in a bonus episode at some point, and we will talk about. We'll go through top-rated Untapped beers, and we'll go through all these beer award beers, and we'll talk through that. And it'll be behind a paywall, so we can say whatever we want. You've got to pay to hear it. So, Joe, if people want to find out more about your blog post and talk to you more about your list, where can people find you?
You can find me. I am Love Beer Learning. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Pinterest. But really, you're going to find me on Instagram, so come find me there. If you want to read some of these blog posts that I've written, my Sonoma one might be out already. I think I've got it in draft yet and just haven't sorted it.
Sonoma is a banger.
When I'm going to post it. If you want to read about what my experiences of that will be on the blog, and you can find that at lovebeerlearning.co.uk, along with several others I've written. And it will be continuing, so give it a little, bookmark it so you can find it. And I always post what is on the blog on my Instagram, so come follow me there. Or you can email me, lovebeerlearning@gmail.com. Email me if you've got a utopia that you're looking at
for £400 plus.
I'm your girl.
You know what she's willing to pay. She's put it out there.
If you want to get hold of both of us, you can find us on Instagram as A Woman's Brew.
I responded to messages over the weekend on Instagram. So
I actually did, yeah. Because I saw one pop up and I was like, I need to go back, and then it was gone, and I'm like, it's because you responded.
I did it.
Or you can email us awomansbrewpodcast@gmail.com. Tori, if people want to debate about Julius with you, where can they find you?
I don't think there's anything really to debate with. I feel like if you're going to debate whether Queen Julius is better than Julius, I can debate with you over that. I can tell you why you're wrong. You can come find me on Instagram at adventures_in_optimism, or you can email me, which I would argue that borderlines into just not healthy behavior if you're going to email me some hate mail about that. But you can email me at adventuresinoptimism@gmail.com. I don't really use any of the other platforms. I mean, I've got a blog, but I barely update that as it is. But I will say, some of the travel that I'm doing upcoming, like I have created a template for what I want to do as like a beer crawl / beer passport type thing for all the different places that I go to in certain places. So hopefully maybe I'll blog about that. I have just gone to a really great place over the weekend that I want to blog about. So maybe I'll put something up there. I just don't have enough time. I'm time poor. I've got too many hobbies and I'm time poor. Help me. And I'm tired. I just want to go to bed. I feel like I should get a job at Pretty Decent. I feel like I'd make some really good labels for them. I'm on it.
Just suggest them.
I'll suggest them a whole bunch of names that are based on true life, true stories. But yeah, that's me. That's where you can come find me. And yeah, I'm going to go finish the rest of the beers and I'm going to go to bed because I need some sleep. On that note, Joe. Cheers.